Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Hey everyone, welcome back. It's the Pop Culture Fiend. The website is popculturefiend.com. Follow me on Twitter at Pop Culture Fiend, and the YouTube channel is The Pop Culture Fiend. This is part 2 of my Streaming Wars audio blog. I'm covering the state of the streaming industry, and in part 1 I gave an overview of what's happening in the world of streaming, and I took a look at Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, and HBO Max. Moving on now, I'm going to talk about Apple Plus. First thing you want to know about Apple Plus, and this is probably the most important thing about that particular streaming service, is that Apple makes the devices that all of the streamers live on. They're the only ones who have that advantage, and they can leverage that. So what I'm talking about specifically is this. Apple sort of owns the rails. They can keep other streamers off their devices, the iPhone, the iPad, or charge a premium, which is what they're doing, so that those streamers can appear in the Apple App Store. Again, I'll break it down for you. You buy an iPhone or you buy an iPad. You want to use your streaming service. Apple is charging the Netflixes, the HBO Maxes, the Amazon Primes of the world. They're charging a fee so that those streaming services can have their app available on the App Store. That way, Apple gets a small percentage every time someone downloads a streaming service or an app for a streaming service that's a rival. So Apple is making money either way. They're making money when you download Apple Plus and use that streaming service. And they're also making money off all the other streamers because those other streamers know that they have to play ball. The App Store is the main place people are going when they want to download Paramount Plus, HBO Max, Netflix, Hulu, whatever. So Apple's got a unique, envious position there. That is, being the manufacturer of the iPhone and the iPad, 2 of the 3 main devices that people use to stream shows, and owning the App Store, which is the most popular place for people to download these apps that they need to stream. And so they're charging a premium and extracting money from their competitors in exchange for the right to appear in the Apple App Store. And oh, by the way, don't think that Apple may not also be getting money every time someone downloads the Netflix app, for example, and becomes a subscriber. If that download came from the Apple App Store, Apple's going to get a percentage of that. Apple is facing some legal problems right now for this very thing with regard to Fortnite. They were charging Epic Games, the makers of Fortnite, they were charging them an exorbitant, what Epic Games is calling unfair and unlawful fee to carry the Fortnite app in the Apple App Store. So this is kind of how Apple does business. It both helps them, and as you can see, it sometimes puts them in a little bit of legal hot water. But in any case, it does give you an advantage to own the rails that the other streamers have to ride on. The morning show with Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon was pretty much the flagship show that Apple Plus launched with, but they didn't have much else to speak of besides that. There was the Jason Momoa Series C, For All Mankind, Greyhounds, which was a Tom Hanks film that was supposed to be in theaters but was acquired by Apple Plus during the pandemic. None of those really moved the needle for them too much, but Apple Plus is doing much better now. They're sort of playing catch up and slowly getting back in the game. Ted Lasso, in particular, has gotten really, really strong reviews, has won some awards, a lot of rising popularity with that show. And upcoming for Apple Plus, there's a Chuck Barris drama that they have in development. If you don't know who Chuck Barris is, Google him. But just really quickly, Chuck Barris was the host of The Gong Show back in the 70s. He had this sort of whacked out persona, and it was postulated in a biography about him that the whole Gong Show and the wacky personality thing was just a front because Chuck Barris was actually a CIA agent. So the drama that's upcoming on Apple Plus is going to be sort of an extension of that whole theory. What else is Apple Plus got in development? Rose Byrne has a show called Physical, which is about the aerobics scene in Los Angeles during the 1980s. Sounds interesting, but Rose Byrne seems to me a little bit too old to play an aerobics instructor. But in any case, there's a Ted Lasso season 2. They have documentaries on Charles Schulz, the creator of the Peanuts comic, another documentary on Louis Armstrong, and one on the Velvet Underground as well. Apple Plus also has some prestige projects coming, and these are going to both be after they have theatrical runs. But there's a film called Finch starring Tom Hanks, where he plays, I believe, the last man on Earth. And then there's The Tragedy of Macbeth, which has really heavyweight actors. Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand, I think, is his co-star. So 5 Oscars between those two. So that is going to be a big high-profile project for them. Just incidentally, the new iOS that is coming out for Apple, it's coming out in October, I believe. It's going to have a feature that will sync up your streaming experience. So I want to talk about what's upcoming technology-wise for the streaming world. This is one of those things. Apple's going to have this feature that's going to let you stream content with other people, and Apple will automatically sync up the movie or the TV show, whatever you're watching, so that you can have, sort of a watch party or a communal experience a little bit easier. Apple says it's going to make that feature and technology available to the other streaming platforms as well, so that if you are streaming it on an Apple device, you'll be able to, also have the same kind of functionality, whether you're watching HBO Max or whether you're watching Netflix. You don't have to necessarily be watching Apple Plus to enjoy that feature. It remains to be seen if any of the other streamers are going to take advantage of Apple Plus's offer on that. So let's go on now and talk about our next streamer, and that will be Paramount Plus. Okay. Paramount Plus is owned by CBS Viacom. You need to know that. And here's what else you need to know. The first promo commercial for Paramount Plus debuted during the Super Bowl. So picture this. You're watching the Super Bowl. On comes this promo commercial for the new streaming service Paramount Plus. And here's the content that they promoted in the commercial. Star Trek, Crank Yankers, a bunch of CBS shows, Survivor, Young Sheldon, Blue Bloods, Jersey Shore, Beavis and Butthead, SpongeBob, Dora the Explorer, and golf.
Excuse me, but I do believe that sucks ass.
Yes, that's how I felt when I watched that trailer for Paramount Plus. That is 1 week lineup. I'm sorry, Paramount Plus. I saw that commercial and I was like, really? Paramount, this is what you're going to war with? You're going up against Netflix? You're going up against Disney Plus with this? SpongeBob and Beavis and Butthead and Crank Yankers? Come on. In any case, there you go. Those are some of the highlights of the unique featured content that Paramount Plus is offering, as underwhelming as it may be. Let's talk about their catalog stuff that they have. I mentioned some of the CBS properties that they're going to have. So shows like All Rise, The Amazing Race, Clarice is moving over from CBS to Paramount Plus. Madam Secretary with Tia Leone. Used to love her, by the way. Hawaii Five-0 and Beverly Hills 90210, which was a Fox show, but somehow is winding up on Paramount Plus. It's weird. There's weird stuff going on with, who owns licenses to shows and content currently. And when the streaming services started to pop up, a lot of deals were already in place. So a lot of shows and movies and things are winding up on streaming services that you wouldn't naturally think that they would. Anyway, Paramount Plus has lots of educational shows. I'll give them credit for that. Lots of educational shows and kids programmings. Paddington Bear, Bubble Guppies, the entire Nickelodeon library. So iCarly, Ren and Stimpy, Victorious, Zoe 101. But none of that really compares to the catalogs, obviously, of some of the other streamers that are boasting shows like, The Office and Friends and Big Bang Theory, Curb Your Enthusiasm and Arrested Development, etc. Okay, now apples to apples, that was catalog. Now let's compare the original content to what some of the other streamers have. So Paramount Plus offers something called Coyote with Michael Chiklis. Don't know, never heard of that. There's a new version of Rugrats, an animated version of Star Trek. I believe there was a Saturday morning cartoon that was an animated version of Star Trek, if I'm not mistaken, but go for it, Paramount Plus. Twilight Zone reboot, which is brought to you by Jordan Peele. You may have already seen that. Real World Season 1 Homecoming. That's this reunion special. In the pipeline for Paramount Plus, a lot of talk about this making of The Godfather. Armie Hammer was supposed to be in it before he got into all that trouble. But that's in development. There's a Frasier reboot, just what we all needed. Behind the Music is returning, and it's returning on Paramount Plus because, again, CBS, Viacom, and VH1, where Behind the Music originated. VH1 is a Viacom property. The iCarly reboot, which just launched a couple of weeks ago. There's going to be a series based on the video game Halo. Another series based on the Italian Job. Italian Job is absolutely one of my favorite films of all time. Grease, Rise of the Pink Ladies. So that's a prequel to the Grease films. And okay, yeah, all right. And MTV Unplugged is coming back. And Paramount Plus will also be the first run venue for films like Quiet Place 2 and Top Gun Maverick after they are done in theaters. That's about it in terms of, originals that are, imminent. They have no movies to speak of other than Indiana Jones and Mission Impossible. Jackass, I guess. They have the Jackass series on there because of the MTV connection, but literally no movies. I don't understand why that is exactly. Paramount is a 106-year-old movie studio. Where is their content library? It should be showing up on Paramount Plus, you would think. Movies like Top Gun and Kung Fu Panda and the Naked Gun movies, Coming to America, the Terminator movies. Not to mention old, classics like Psycho and Rosemary's Baby, Breakfast at Tiffany's. What happened? Why is this stuff not on Paramount Plus? I checked. None of those films are on that streamer. And where's the Showtime content while we're at it? CBS Viacom owns Showtime. So where are all the Showtime series? Ray Donovan, Californication, The L Word, Weeds, Dexter. I mean, are these on Showtime OTT? Showtime OTT is Showtime Over the Top, which is an on-demand platform. Apparently, it's still a thing. I don't know. And CBS Viacom also owns Pluto TV, which is another on-demand platform. Sounds like CBS Viacom and Paramount Plus have some consolidation that they need to execute. And lastly, I'll say this. Where is Yellowstone? Old episodes of Yellowstone are on Peacock for some reason, and new episodes are on the Paramount Network, which is formerly Spike TV. So the regular cable channel of the Paramount Network. Again, Paramount Plus has to try and consolidate and get all of their content onto their streaming service because I can't imagine that Pluto TV that I mentioned before is doing that well for them, that they want to keep it going and maintaining it. Showtime over the top as well. I mean, you can't have all these on-demand platforms plus a streaming service plus your regular cable channels sharing content. There's not enough content to go around for all of those entities. Speaking of which, let's talk about the pricing now. I think this is important to mention. Pricing for Paramount Plus is $9.99 for the regular version, and then there is a cheaper $4.99 version that comes with ads. The other streamers are doing similar tier pricing with ad and ad-free versions. HBO Max has this. Hulu has had ad and ad-free versions for quite a while. Hulu's interesting. Hulu has a version where every time you pause, they run ads. So that's a sort of an interesting sort of tactic. But advertising, believe me, is going to become much more significant as we move ahead. The streaming services, since their launch, have been all working towards building their subscriber bases. This is the same exact thing that happened with YouTube. When YouTube first launched, all of those videos, I don't know if you know this, young people, if any of you are listening, all the videos on YouTube used to be just click and play, and there were no ads at all on YouTube. And then after several years, YouTube added enough users that they said, okay, now we're going to monetize. And that's why you see at the beginning, and often sometimes in the middle as well, of popular videos, you see ads run. The streaming services are doing the same exact thing right now. They're all, well, they've actually, as I said, started advertising already, but advertising is going to become bigger and bigger. You're going to see a lot more ads on your homepage. That's going to be the first step. You're going to see a lot more advertising on your homepage when you first, launch the HBO Max app or the Hulu app or the Paramount Plus app, whatever. Paramount Plus, I guess, to summarize, does not seem like it was prepared to enter the streaming wars. The consolidation strategy and the long-term goals were not properly planned out. And then their numbers show it. They have 36 million subscribers, which is really lagging. We talked about, HBO Max, they've got 44 million plus subscribers already. And of the 36 million subscribers that Paramount Plus currently has, a good portion of those were migrated over from CBS All Access, which, again, yet another content provider under the CBS Viacom brand. So CBS All Access is, though, now defunct, but a lot of the Paramount Plus subscribers were migrated over from that CBS All Access. So similar to some of the other numbers that we see from the other streaming services, we don't have 100% clarity on how many quote-unquote real subscribers for Paramount Plus. Let's talk about Peacock. Peacock is owned by NBC Universal, and Comcast owns NBC Universal. Comcast is, of course, the huge cable company. NBC Universal has the following properties in its fold: Bravo, the USA Network, Sci-Fi, Oxygen, CNBC, MSNBC, Golf Channel, Universal Pictures. So they've got a lot of sources from which to draw content. Some of their specific programs that they are featuring currently: Yellowstone, Downton Abbey, Friday Night Lights, The Office, 30 Rock, Saved by the Bell, and the Saved by the Bell reboot as well. There are recent seasons of Saturday Night Live on Peacock, not so much the older stuff. Premier League Soccer and the Tour de France, and starting in August, they're going to have WWE. Now, I'm not sure if that's going to include pay-per-views, but sports-wise, they also have the Dan Patrick Show, which is fairly popular, and they're going to have some type of Olympics coverage. Let me digress for a minute and again talk about sports and that being a possible differentiator for some of the streamers. You just heard the list of sports programming that Peacock has: Premier League Soccer, Tour de France, WWE is coming, and of course the Olympics. But again, if one of these streamers could lock down an NFL package or could land exclusive rights to NBA games or college football games, that could really thrust, whichever streamer gets that great sports program, really thrust them, ahead and bring in a lot of additional subscribers. Now, in the few days here that I'm recording this, news came out that Apple Plus is actually working on a deal to get Sunday Ticket. So Sunday Ticket, for those of you who don't know, allows you to watch any NFL game. Every Sunday, there's the whole slate of NFL games. And with Sunday Ticket, you can watch whatever game in whatever city, whatever market that you wish. The contract for that is currently with AT&T. So AT&T DirecTV has Sunday Ticket. So that contract is actually going to be expiring shortly. And again, Apple Plus is in talks to add on this Sunday Ticket option. And that could really be a game changer. So just something to keep in mind there. But now back to Peacock. In terms of originals, there's not a lot to see here. Brave New World was supposed to be the flagship show on which that streaming service got launched. Well, Brave New World didn't do well and got canceled. Other originals that they have are the made-for-TV movie Psych 2 and, of course, the animated series. Cleopatra in Space. Yes. Apparently, Cleopatra is thrust somehow 30,000 years into the future, and she's battling some sort of space aliens. I don't know what that's all about, but it sounded really kind of bizarre to me, which is why I'm including it in my list of Peacock originals. Sounds a lot like Josie and the Pussycats in Outer Space to me, if anybody remembers that.
Josie in outer space. Pussycats are all in place. On another chase. Mars stars and Milky Way.
There was a whole thing in the 70s with regard to Saturday morning cartoons where they just figured, you know what, let's just amp everything up by putting them in space. So there was like Gilligan's Island in space, Gilligan's Planet, I think it was called. Josie and the Pussycats in outer space. There were Space Nuts. I don't know. There was this huge idea that, everything would work better if we just moved into outer space. So now we've got Cleopatra in space. Brother. Okay. Oh, the 70s. Okay. Where the hell was I? I was talking about Peacock and, okay, so Peacock has a free tier, but most of the good stuff, most of the good content requires the upgrade to Peacock Premium or Peacock Premium Plus, which has no ads. So again, you're seeing the sort of tier-based pricing structure. It's found with all of the streamers. I will give Peacock credit. They are trying their best to play catch up. Their film library is very strong. They have movies like Catch Me If You Can, Bridesmaids, Ghostbusters, The Bourne Trilogy, King Kong, Lucy, the Hobbit movies, and tons of others. They have really good films in their on their streamer. They also are trying to come up with more originals. There's one starring Busy Phillips that is called Girls Five Eva. It's about a girl group that reunites. It's comedy, obviously. And they are also, Peacock that is also working on a Battlestar Galactica reboot. So, again, more work that they're doing with trying to get better originals. Comcast has an advantage here. Again, Comcast owns NBC Universal, which owns Peacock. Comcast has an advantage in that its cable platform can really be leveraged to promote Peacock and incentivize signups. And they can do the same thing with their theme parks, the Universal theme parks. I imagine they can get creative and figure out ways to sort of promote Peacock. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that, when you're controlling the cable platform with literally millions of subscribers, they can leverage that cable platform and run promos and ads when you're sort of navigating on their through their guide, through the cable guide, to promote Peacock. So that could be an advantage for them and help them. just don't think that Peacock, similar to Paramount Plus, I just don't think that they thought this thing out. I think that they didn't have forward-thinking people in the right positions at the company. And I think that they saw too late that streaming was where everything was going, and that all the horses were in the starting gate. And I think Peacock was like, "Oh shit, we've got to get something going too." Streaming is the future. What can we do? And here's proof of that, because if you're Peacock, why wouldn't you make deals to keep the content that is sort of identified with NBC and the quote unquote Peacock network? Why wouldn't you make efforts to sort of, reclaim that content or relicense that content or keep that content out of the hands of your rivals? So again, some of the shows that you would associate with Peacock or NBC, shows like Cheers and Seinfeld and Friends, they're not found on Peacock, and they won't be on Peacock anytime soon, if ever, because they've already been licensed out. TBS has episodes of Friends. As I said, the entire series is on HBO Max. Cheers, I believe, is on either Amazon Prime or Netflix. I don't know where Seinfeld is, but it's not on Peacock. So if Peacock had been forward thinking, they would have obviously, not licensed that content, or they would have made efforts to reclaim that content as soon as licenses expired. And that's not what's happened. I understand that it may be very profitable for them to have licensed that content out. However, you also want to make some sort of deal to keep content that's associated with your brand in-house. And again, that's just not what happened. Financially, Comcast had a very nice Q1, but Peacock still has only about 42 million subscribers. And remember, some of those, probably a lot, are just cord cutters and others who are subscribed to strictly the free tier of Peacock. So there's no direct revenue generated from that. Peacock's going to be very reticent to break out how many paying Peacock subscribers there are from those who are just, on Peacock using the free tier. So, okay, so just let me leave it there for now. That concludes part 2 of what looks like, I guess, is going to be a 3-part audio blog on the streaming wars. I've still got a couple of other streamers to cover, and then some, sort of a wrap up. So come on back and tune in for part 3.
Tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel.